This is Comic Geek Speak, episode 1633, Previews!
Laser beams, opinions like the seasons on everything you read in comics, movies, games, toys, artists, Comic Geek Speak, Comic Geek Speak, Comic Geek Speak, Comic Geek Speak, Comic Geek. Uniting the world's mightiest heroes, this is...
I'm Brian Chrisman.
I'm Adam Murdo.
And I'm Chris Everly.
Chris Everly once again turning the opening credits into Dance Party a Go-Go.
Welcome to the show. This is our December previews catalog we're going to go through for items shipping to stores mostly in February of 2017.
Yes.
All right. And as always, when we have our preview shows, they are brought to you by the fine folks at Discount Comic Book Service. Go to dcbservice.com for all your pre-ordering needs. As always, whenever you pre-order from them any DC, Marvel, Dark Horse, or Image book, they are right away 40% off cover price. Most other publishers between 20 and 35% off cover price. And there are always extra special discounts, sometimes 45, 50, 60, even up to 75% off cover price. And they also offer some bundles where they put together a bunch of issues with a similar theme for a discount price. And continuing still, they have any new DC or Marvel trade or hardcovers are 50% off. But this month, if you get any of the DC Rebirth titles, you get an additional 2% off for a 52% discount.
Oh, Pansy, were they thinking of you?
I highly doubt it. No one thinks of me in that regard. But, they offer shipping weekly, twice monthly. Monthly, you can get bags and boards with them. We've used them for years. They're fantastic people, wonderful customer service, wonderful deals. So I'm always happy to have them sponsor episodes. Discount Comic Book Service, dcbservice.com. I'm just laughing. I got a text from our featured guest in this episode, and he sent me a nice text of a little doggy and a little stuffed bird. Oh, so cute. We'll get to that gentleman a little bit later on in the episode.
Believe that to be Boo, the world's cutest dog.
Oh, well, look at you knowing your memes.
I know my pet celebrities.
Your pet celebrities. One quick announcement since it's been a while since we've gathered here together. I want to mention we had a recent birthday, although he's not really necessarily on the show as much as he used to be. Sort of becomes the Chuck Cunningham of Comic Geek Speak.
He ascended to his bedroom with his basketball and was never seen again.
Yes, Mr. Kevin Moyer.
Ooh, yes.
Recently turned 50 years old on December 9th.
My goodness.
Yes.
Yeah.
So our old good friend, we don't see him that often because he's very busy, but he's always invited to come on the show. He actually does respond sometimes because, of course, he of the famed Moon Knight and Daredevil knowledge and just all around.
Well, Moon Knight's costume may be silver, but that birthday is pure gold.
Oh, look at you, Mr. Murdo. Yes, look at me. There is no opposition.
Happy birthday, Kevin.
Switch,
all right.
Mm-hmm. Happy birthday, Kevin.
Happy birthday, Kevin.
We hope to get you back on the show sometime soon, perhaps in some sort of trivial matter. We never know. We tease. Oh, how we tease here. All right, well, Chris, anything before we get started you want to talk about before we jump in? I know you have limited time as always, but not as always. I'm sorry.
I'll talk. I'll ramble on at the next comic talk. Let's just jump into the previous since my time is limited.
All right. Let's jump right into it and I will, of course, always use my pithy comments to, this is a great discounted DCBS, so let's start with Dark Horse.
Depend on you for that, Brian.
If nothing else.
Murd, commence with the first OTR.
Very well. The first thing in the catalog is also our first off-the-rack pick. It's the indie pick for the month of February. It's from Dark Horse, The Visitor, How and Why He Stayed. It's the first issue of a 5-issue miniseries written by Mike Mignola and Chris Roberson, art by Paul Grist, the United Kingdom's Paul Grist. And it is a Hellboy spin-offs miniseries. It adds new wrinkles to the origin story of Hellboy. It's about a character who was dispatched to kill Hellboy shortly after he first arrived on Earth, and it's the story of why he decided not to. So, interesting stuff there for Hellboy fans, and it looks like it's going to be a well-told story, even if you don't know that much about the character, because it's getting in with him at the ground floor. So we're going to talk about that for our Off-the-Rack episode covering the month of February.
And that issue, number 1, is half off at DCBS only, $1.99.
Now, Murd, quick query. I noticed the artist is Paul Grist of Kane and Jack Staff. I've never read those books. Have you read any of his work?
I have read the first issue of Jack Staff, and I have a few issues of Mudman.
Okay.
Yes, so I do know a thing or two about his work.
All right. Did you like Jack Staff number 1?
Yes, I liked it very much.
Good.
A few unusual characters thrown in there, sampled from different genres. Like there was a Becky Burr girl reporter, and Tom the Robot Man, and a character that was kind of like a Hulk doppelganger. So some unusual
Sounds
things
good to
thrown in
me.
there for Jack Staff to face off against.
Speaking of Hellboy and his universe and Mike Mignola, he's got a couple things here. He's got on the next page, he's got Baltimore, the Red Kingdom, number 1. And after that, Hellboy into the Silent Sea hardcover.
Oh, yes, with Gary Gianni artwork.
Wow, yes.
It's an OGN. So if you're a Hellboy Mike Mignola fan, this month's for you.
Yeah,
Wow.
That line working from by Gianni looks fantastic.
Yeah, my goodness, on the ship with the, oh, wow, yeah.
Oh, yeah, the Daft. Wow. I just, woof.
Yes.
You're not kidding. Magnificent. Now, on page 46, I've heard a lot of things of the book Empowered. Has anybody read this book? So I know it's got a cult following.
I have not.
Are the guys versed in it?
I have heard of it. That's about the length of my knowledge on that, unfortunately.
Yep. Well, our friend Ian, he listed Adam Warren as one of his top 5 underappreciated creators.
That's right.
So he would probably have quite a bit to say about this one. But yeah, Adam Warren is definitely a manga-influenced creator. And Empowered, I've read a couple of snippets here and there. It's humor-oriented, and it's just humorous action superhero with a superhero bent. It's sort of like a cross between, I don't know, The Dirty Pair and The Tick.
Okay.
Okay.
So, yeah.
Well, I have a lot of faith in Ian's taste, so I may give that a shot. What else in Dark Horse, gentlemen?
Well, nothing else that I'm too keen on.
I'll quickly point on page 56, they're collecting the outstanding World of Tanks trade paperback that 5-issue miniseries, just current line was going by Garth Ennis. Forget the whole video game background. This is another Garth Ennis war story, which means it doesn't get any better when it comes to military comics. Chronicles a British tank crew fighting in the hedgerows of France after the D-Day invasion and taking on, a lethal German panzer unit. Panzers mean tanks. And again, broken record, but if I think something's great, damn it, I'm going to keep lauding it. You want just a damn fine military comic? World of Tanks, right there, page 56.
Page 61 has a collection of Playboy cartoons. Secret Snade. And Eric Nolan Wethington, please tell me if I'm pronouncing that incorrectly. The unpublished cartoons of Doug Snade. And on the next page, page 62, we've got an autobiographical hardcover about the great Renaissance artist Caravaggio.
Murd, I was waiting for you to pronounce that with bated breath. Magnificent.
If there is a Renaissance artist who deserves his own comic, it would probably be he, because he was a flamboyant character with a notoriously short temper. Got himself into a good bit of trouble. So, yeah, I think his life is one worthy of treatment in the graphic novel format. By one Milo Manara.
Wow.
All right, what else in Dark
wow,
Horse?
yeah.
Anything?
Nothing else. On to DC then?
Yes, to DC.
Okay.
Okay, page 71 is our second OTR. We're just bagging these OTRs out very quickly here. Wildstorm number 1. And I was told the minute I saw Warren Ellis was writing it. I love the art by John Davis Hunt with the promo pages they're showing here. And it's basically all I need to know was it's Warren Ellis sort of reimagining Jim Lee's Wildstorm universe. I'm in. I mean, that's all I needed to know, really. What are your thoughts on it, guys?
Well, it looks like it's cool to see Ellis giving us his take on Wildstorm characters again, and this time getting a chance to build the universe they're living in from the ground up, since DC seems to have backpedaled from their post-Flashpoint position that the Wildstorm characters are a part of the DC universe. Either that or this is like some parallel Earth in the multiverse someplace where the Wildstorm characters exist in a vacuum. But yeah, all the continuity quibbles aside, I mean, it's a great creative team from the looks of it, and I'd like to see what Ellis is able to do with these characters, getting a chance to reconstruct their lives, from scratch.
Yeah, I never really got into Wildstorm at all, so I mean, kind of curious about it, but not really that knowledgeable on it. I do want to mention that it is also half off through DCBS, only $1.99.
On the next page, the Rebirth continues. We have Justice League of America Rebirth 1. Did you guys, when you read this solicitation, think Outsiders, the Return of the Outsiders in a sense?
It does remind me quite a bit of that.
Yeah.
Yes, Chris. Good call.
It has that vibe. So it's Batman, Black Canary, Killer Frost, the Ray, Vixen, the Atom, and with a question mark and exclamation point, Lobo? Spin on the events of Justice League versus Suicide Squad. Steve Orlando writing, Ivan Reis and Joe Prado doing the art. That might be fun.
Oh, but I'm looking forward to on page 74 is Batwoman Rebirth #1.
Look at that Steve Epting
Oh
art.
my God,
man!
that's gorgeous. Written by Marguerite Bennett and James Tynion IV, art by Ben Oliver and Steve Epting, with cover by Steve Epting. They just in the last month they solicited a 2-issue Detective Comics run where this sort of is going to be the groundwork is laid for this story. I ordered that, and I've always just loved the character. Of course, go back to the Silver Age, but when she was reimagined for 52. And then when Greg Rucka got a hold of her, and just some amazing storytelling, great character, just loved this. And she had her own book before. It came and went,
Came and went.
Yes, I'm happy to see it back again in the Rebirth line. We'll be definitely picking that up. I've already placed my order this month as well.
Oh, you early bird, you.
Yes.
Murd, page 75, the Screams You, the Super Sons, #1.
Yep, I will more likely than not be picking that up, Chris.
So it's the modern versions of Damian and the pre-Flashpoint Superman son.
Mm-hmm. So not a hoax, not an imaginary story, unlike the
No.
original Super Sons.
That's right. I want to point out on page 78, I can't begin to express how good Aquaman has been, written by Dan Abnett. Right now, they're unfolding this magnificent story where Black Manta is manipulating a war between Atlantis and the United States. First-rate political intrigue, geopolitics of the DC universe. Some of the best Aquaman I've read. I highly recommend this series. It's been outstanding right out of the gate. So high recommendation for that. I want to mention other series I'm enjoying. Again, Batgirl and the Birds of Prey continues to knock out of the park every month. I think it's another one of the top DCU Rebirth titles. Page 85, Deathstroke by Christopher Priest, and the great Joe Bennett doing art with Mark Morales, and covers by Bill Sienkiewicz. Look at that.
Wow, yeah, how about that?
Page 85. Wow. So if you're a Priest fan and or a Deathstroke fan, definitely recommend that. What other DCU stuff is jumping out at people they want to tout?
I'm quite behind in my reading, and really have sort of had to pick and choose a lot of things. I even had to drop Wonder Woman because I haven't been reading it, so I'm going to catch
it's really
up.
good, Pants.
I know
Really
that,
good.
but when they have art with number 16 by Bilquis Evely, who did that Sugar and Spike with Keith Giffen, it's like, oh, that artwork was tremendous. So it's like, oh. But I think I'm going to hold off now because I want to get caught up on all my other books before I start buying new things.
By the way, Murd, turn to page 96. How do you feel about that image?
Well, I'm definitely buying it.
Why don't you explain?
It's Red Hood and the Outlaws, #7, written by Scott Lobdell. And the cover art is the Red Hood training his gun at the back of Bizarro's head as the latter sits there in a field sniffing a pretty flower. It's kind of a... the composition is almost like a Rockwell image, but it's kind of like an Of Mice and Men kind of thing.
I was just thinking the
Yeah,
same thing.
yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
And the title of the story is The Hammersteinian, How Do You Solve a Problem Like Bizarro?
The Hammersteinian. Oh my! All right, we got to think about that.
How do you hold a square globe in your hand? So
See, what other comic podcast you get serenaded like this? Come on.
At no charge
fantastic.
to the listener.
Speaking of Wonder Woman pants, again on page 104, I want to emphasize what a wonderful job Greg Ruck has been doing as he's returned to the character. What's great about this book is they're alternating. One issue a month, they're revisiting her origin, and the other issue of the month is a story taking place in the present day. Both are excellent. As you're a Wonder Woman fan, as we approach the movie for her and so forth, her anniversary, highest recommendation. I got a comment also on page 105. Mad Dog.
Wild Dog.
Wild Dog, excuse me. I got them mixed up there.
But yes, good call anyway. Wild Dog Watch triggered for Kit
Wow.
Carson and has a cybernetic eye, number 5. He's on Arrow right now, and he's now popping up in the comics. And that is a great-looking cover, is it not?
That is.
Oh, is Wild Dog on Arrow? Because I'm not current with Arrow. He's on Arrow?
Yeah, he's part of...
Oh, wow.
Yeah, I don't even know in what capacity. I've just seen him in some of the commercials. But he's part of a team of, I guess, rookie vigilantes that
Yes.
Arrow's been coaching,
Yes.
mentoring.
That's fascinating because when you think about it, Wild Dog was they plugged into that '80s vigilante craze.
Mm-hmm.
I think only had a handful of appearances in the Copper Age. But
He had a miniseries, and I think he was
Yeah.
in Action Comics Weekly for a while. That's
correct.
he was in Action Comics Week. That's correct.
It
Yep.
was created by Max Allan Collins, believe it or not.
I don't believe it.
Oh, of
No.
Road to Perdition fame.
Yep, that one. Yeah, that Max Allan Collins, yes.
As opposed to the other one.
I think it's one of Tom Hanks' greatest performances on film. Anything else before we move to trades, gentlemen?
Page 106, Doom Patrol number 6 is the conclusion of the first story arc of this very strange new series. So hopefully things will be making a little more sense by then.
Yeah, and I heard you in the last episode. I have my... I'm getting the bundles from half off from DCBS, the Young Animal bundles, because they're half off, and I wanted to read them. And I think I did read Doom Patrol 1, and like you guys, it's like, I think I'll wait till they're all collected before I start going any further.
I think that's the right way to go.
Yeah.
Eric Nolan Wellington chimed in and said that the second issue brings things together and makes them a little more coherent.
Yeah, I mean, I'm behind my reading anyway, so that's at this point just get the trade. But at half off, because I'm also interested in with that Mother Panic looks pretty good, and Shade, the Changing Girl. So, yeah.
Go ahead, Murray. I'm sorry.
No, nothing. I'm just making noise. Go ahead, Chris.
I just wanted to point out, if we're done with the single issues, some great trades DC's coming out with. 122, 123, Volume 1 of Batgirl Rebirth, Cyborg, Deathstroke by Priest, Harlequin by Amanda Conner and Jimmy Palmiotti. Page 125, Aquaman Volume 8 by Dan Abnett. Justice League Power and Glory hardcover by Brian Hitch. I'm very excited about pages 126 and 127. They're reissuing the classic by the late, great Darwin Cook, Batman Ego,
Yes.
which is my first exposure to Darwin Cook as a reader, and other tales in a deluxe hardcover edition. If you've never read these stories, it's worth the hardcover. It's spellbinding Darwin Cook art. Catwoman Saliga's big score, Batman Ego, and Tales from Batman Gotham Knights, and the great Solo miniseries, which prominently featured a different creator each month. Look at that on page 127. Both of you, I'm sure, are piqued by this. Batman and Superman: World's Finest Comics, The Silver Age, Volume 1. Look at that cover. I just want to eat apple pie after I see a cover like that. And this is a series I always enjoyed thoroughly. Teen Titans by Jeff Johns. They did that in an omnibus treatment not too long ago. Now they're doing the sort of the larger softcover book 1 format. If you've never read this series and you're a Teen Titans fan, I highly recommend this. It's immensely enjoyable. That's on page 127. And then on page 128, well, doesn't get much better than James Robinson doing the JSA, The Golden Age. This is a classic story being given the deluxe hardcover treatment.
Mm-hmm. It's a past CGS book of the month.
Yes. Page 129, where they continue to collect Peter David's highly regarded Supergirl series. And then below that, Superman, The Golden Age Omnibus, Volume 4. If you want to spend $75, you can wait for the soft cover.
Or get it half off through DCBS from like $37.50.
There you go. Even better. So these omnibuses they're doing. Again, we've mentioned how they're replacing, it seems, the Chronicle series. They're beautiful additions. Page 130. This is exciting. Zatanna by Paul Dini trade paperback. This is a series. It's so hard to find the back issues on this as a retail. I rarely see them, and they're collecting the whole thing. Issues 1 through 16, Everyday Magic #1, and stories from DC Infinite Halloween Special 1 and the DC Universe Rebirth Holiday Special #1. $40. That's a great collection. I may get that. Above that, continue with Wonder Woman by George Perez Omnibus Volume 2. That classic series. Props to DC for a lot of great trades. Mm-hmm. What about Vertigo, gentlemen? Think it jump out at you?
Yep, I'm always a fan of Astro City, and page 133, they've got the latest issue of that, which is about an old retired supervillain named Mr. Manta. The front cover by Alex Ross shows him hanging out in a palm tree in the tropics someplace, wearing wings, like manta wings made out of palm branches. So that image speaks to me. But I never miss an issue of that series anyway, so got to get my Busiek fix.
And one of the all-time great writers. If Danielle were here, I wanted to point this out in her name. Page 142. Wow. That is a beautiful black and white Nightwing statue designed by Jim Lee. That is gorgeous. $80. Limited edition of 5,000. He's twirling one of his batons. That is a cool statue. So if you're into statues, that's one I'd recommend. Plus, the black and whites aren't super expensive. Right. So, you guys ready for IDW or?
Yep, IDW. Yep.
All right. Now, Pants, I gotta be effusive here in my praise of this company yet again, and I thought of you immediately. I'm going to jump ahead a little bit because again, my time's a little limited. But the artist editions they're doing this month, Pantaloons. How can you not be salivating?
Well, I mean, salivating, yes, but, purchasing, no.
I mean, look on page 181. Jack Kirby, The Forever People.
Mm-hmm.
Ugh! Issues 1, 4, 5, 6, 7, and 8, with nearly all the pages scanned from the originals.
That's
in immediately.
That's impressive in itself, getting all those originals. It's like, dear sweet Lord.
Absolutely. Because sometimes, as you know, if they want to show you a complete issue, they'll just put in like a photocopy of
right,
just a regular page for the completion's sake. And the next page, this is a direct market exclusive, David Stevens' The Rocketeer Artisan Edition. Oh, beautiful. I only saw that movie for the first time maybe 3 or 4 years ago.
I haven't seen it.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh, Pants, you'd love it.
No, I'm not saying it would. I just, some things just fall off my radar. And what are you going to do?
Understood. I want to jump back to page 180. This is very exciting. Shane will be into this.
Wow. Yes.
Star Wars Volume 1, the newspaper series from 1979 to 1984, written by Russ Manning, Steve Gerber, Don Christensen, Russ Helm, art by Russ Manning and Alfredo Alcala, covered by Al Williamson. I'm buying it. Holy mackerel.
Wow.
Ugh. That is exciting. Co-produced by Marvel and IDW. Mm-hmm. And then at page 179, this is really interesting. If you're a fan of the history of the Old West, this is a graphic novel about the life of Calamity Jane, who was a famous, she's like a frontierswoman. She was a scout for the U.S. Army during the Indian Wars era. She was known for hard living. She was captured, I thought, very compelling in the classic Deadwood series on HBO several years back. The actress who played her was magnificent. So I'm going to check this out, too. I think this may have been a European book originally as I'm looking at it. Yes, it's presented in English for the first time ever. That looks fascinating. I love when they do history in comics. And Pants, I also wanted to jump back because I just thought the text was funny. On page 170, Star Trek The Gold 100-Page Spectacular, written by Dick Wood and Len Wein. I'm reading here. Created by writers and artists who had not seen the show often or parenthetically or at all, and worked on, this is funny, worked off of whatever publicity materials they get their hands on, the Gold Key comics are true 1960s gems. Needless to say, the end results were definitely unusual and very on trek in some cases. A blonde Scotty, Spock kills, the Enterprise belches fire.
I did not know that about the comics. That's great. Oh, my
Lunacy.
God. Well, at least they're being honest up front with what you're getting. I appreciate that.
That's
My
fantastic.
Goodness.
Good marketing. It makes
If
me
you
wanna read
guys
those
don't
stories
mind,
again.
I'm just going to belt out a couple things I want to recommend throughout the book. Is that okay? And then you can jump back and go through some of the companies.
What if it's not okay? Then what are you going to do?
Well, if this wasn't a family program, I use an expletive right now. But I don't want to
Rock
scare off
on!
the parents.
Go!
A couple of things I just wanted to mention. And again, I apologize to listeners that I have to depart, but family obligations call. Page 188. Only one name matters here, and I'm in. Rucka. All right, the Old Guard #1. Trapped in a no mortality without explanation, Andromeda of Scythia, Andy, and her comrades ply their trade for those who can find and afford their services. But in the 21st century, immortality is a hard secret to keep. And when you live long enough, you learn that there are many fates worse than death. Okay, it's Rucka doing a story that clearly involves political intrigue, which he is a master of, and then you have that spin of immortals acting as mercenaries in the 21st century. I cannot wait to read this. Art by Leandro Fernandez, who's in the Deadpool, Punisher Max, and the Discipline. Wow, that's extremely exciting. Any new Rucka book, I'm all over immediately. I also wanted to mention from Image, they are collecting in a deluxe hardcover the first 15 issues of the Velvet series by the great team of Ed Brubaker and Steve Epting of Winter Soldier. If you love that story, this is Brubaker and Epting without any corporate oversight at all. This is their own creation. This is classic Cold War espionage. It's Steve Epting art, so it's completely breathtaking. I can't recommend this series enough, and this is a way to get on the ground floor. I'm looking forward to getting this hardcover because Velvet has so many, like any good espionage, has so many layers of intrigue. I'm looking forward to reading it in one shot, essentially. So definitely check out. That's on page 232, Velvet, the deluxe hardcover edition. And jumping back to page 203, Sex Criminals is returning after hiatus.
Yes.
Issue 16, which is celebration enough, but double celebration, variant cover by Fiona Staples.
An XXX variant cover.
Yes, it says, finally, Saga artist Fiona Staples gets to draw something naughty. So, really looking forward to that. That's Sex Criminals is one of the top titles. I've missed it. I'm looking forward to its return. And then just in terms of Marvel, I just wanted to shout out, we mentioned, well, I'll let Murd do the as only he can, talk about our third OTR from Marvel. But I just want to emphasize again that some of the ongoing Marvel titles I'm reading, like Mighty Thor, Invincible Iron Man, Infamous Iron Man, where Doom is now taking the armor, which has been great. All great books. Captain America, Steve Rogers remains very compelling and creepy because it's Cap being mind controlled by the Red Skull, and they're ongoing with that. They didn't cut that short. I have not read Inhumans vs. X-Men 1, so I can't comment on that story yet. We'll save that for a comic talk. And then going back to the trades, page 112.
This is in the Marvel
Deadly Hands
catalog,
of
right.
Kung Fu Omnibus Volume 2. If you love black and white Marvel, I got the first omnibus, get the second. Classic 70s. Love that Kung Fu craze. And on page 119, again, the David Walker, Sanford Green, Power Man Iron Fist series is one of Marvel's top titles. If you loved the Power Man Iron Fist vibe from the 1970s and 80s, if you loved the Luke Cage Netflix show, and if you're looking forward to the Iron Fist show, is that January, by the way, Pants? Iron Fist on Netflix?
Sorry, I don't have that information in front of me here.
All right, fair enough. But I think it's coming out soon. Definitely check out this series. Again, highest recommendation. Page 127 is interesting. Wolverine versus the Marvel Universe.
March 2017.
For Iron Fist, thank you. I knew you'd be clutch there, brother. This is interesting because it has different... In the early days of Wolverine's popularity, Marvel would place him in other titles, maybe his sales were dipping, to have him confront different Marvel icons, like the classic Captain America Annual 8, Daredevil 249, Incredible Hulk 340. My favorite, though, was Spider-Man vs. Wolverine #1, written by James Owsley, now known as Christopher Priest. We've mentioned this book on the air before. Fantastic Cold War espionage story, not a typical superhero story. It's Spider-Man and Wolverine who end up, due to various circumstances, in East Berlin. So it's even before this was written before the Berlin Wall fell. Highest recommendation. This is where I first was exposed to Owsley, later Priest, and started becoming a real fan of his writing. So I highly recommend that. And again, I apologize for my machine gun pace here. I also wanted to point out on page 262, if you're a Three Stooges fan, for American Mythology Productions, they're doing all new original stories. The actual likenesses and personalities of the Three Stooges. So that might be fun, especially if you're a Stooges fan. When was the last time there was a Three Stooges comic? I don't know. So that's an exciting prospect. I also wanted to point out... Damn it, now I can't find it. Pants, I'm failing you miserably here.
This will all be edited out.
Yeah, you can take away my Wild Pig Medal of Valor. Here it is. Two things from Boom. Boom, I got to give Boom props for cashing in as much as they can on their Planet of the Apes license, because now we're getting on page 294, Planet of the Apes Green Lantern #1.
Oh, my God. That one cover with the homage to Showcase 22 is awesome.
Yes, it is.
Oh, my God.
And the homage to the classic scene where Heston, I think I can spoil a movie from 1968 where he comes across the Statue of Liberty at the end, and it looks like Cornelius is going to be the Green Lantern. I cannot wait to read this.
Oh, my God.
I didn't even notice those variant covers. I just said, oh, Green Lantern and Planet of the Apes, I'm going to buy this. But yeah, that variant based on Showcase 22, that is pretty darn sweet.
That's tremendous.
Sweeter.
Wow.
And Murd, I will leave with this comment, and this I've thought of you immediately. On page 297, Jim Henson's The Power of the Dark Crystal #1 of 12. This is apparently an authorized licensed sequel
Oh, yes.
to the movie.
Written by Cy Spurrier, who has written some fairly delightfully strange things for comics within the past few years. I think he brought a 6-gun gorilla, if I'm not mistaken. So, and I hope you were thinking of Shane and Brian Deemer, too, Chris, because they're also
Absolutely
big fans of Henson and the Dark Crystal.
Sometimes Shane will do his best Skeksis impersonation. So that's the art looks beautiful. Kelly and Nicole Matthews. I haven't seen that movie in years. I got to watch it again. But if you're a fan of Henson, a fan of the Dark Crystal, this is where you're going to get Dark Crystal as an official licensed sequel. So, boy, that Jay Lee Jun Chung cover is gorgeous. Oh my God! On page 297. And one more thing I to mention. Then I must bid a fond farewell to my brothers in arms here. On page 323 from Dynamite, John Carter: The End. John Carter, of course, Warlord of Mars. What matters here is co-written by Brian Wood.
There you go. Yep.
So they're revisiting John Carter as a much older man, sort of living in seclusion and retirement with his love, Deja Thoris. Brian Wood has proven to me again and again over the years that he can write any genre in this medium and make it compelling. So I've never really read much John Carter at all, but I'll tell you right now, I'm reading this book. So I'm excited about that. My friends, I will leave the rest of the episode in your safekeeping as I must depart for familiar duties. And I bid you both a very heartfelt and fond... Before I leave, I'm going to have one more tug here on my Mexican Fanta orange soda. I salute you both, gentlemen.
Prost.
Real sugar, you can't beat it.
Amen to
My friends, we shall talk soon, and I bid you both a fine evening.
All right.
Farewell, brothers.
Fare thee well,
Good
Chris.
night. Take care.
Bye, Conrio.
Bye-bye.
All right. Well, thank you again, Chris, for your quick and lightning round input there, if you will. So I guess we're sort of in IDW. Do you have anything else to finish in DC? Or
No, I was pretty much done with DC.
Okay, so we're just going to go on from here. And
I really had only one IDW thing that I wanted to throw out there.
Okay.
For Art and Franco fans out there.
Yes.
On page 159, we've got Revolution, oh yeah. So, this is Art and Franco's chance to play with all the cool Hasbro toys. So they got Transformers and Micronauts and ROM and a few guest stars from G.I. Joe all thrown into this one-shot, which loosely ties into the Revolution crossover event.
I like that. Art and Franco playing with toys. There you go. That's all you really need to know about that.
Yep, it's a believable image.
Yes. All right. I mean, there's just so many other things, so many of the licensed things with IDW that, just Star Trek, My Little Pony, Gem, my goodness, Back to the Future, Star Trek, which, of course, that wonderful Gold Key collection. My goodness.
That's tempting.
Yes.
I'm not even that big a Star Trek fan, but just the weirdness of a bunch of people who've barely ever seen the show, if they've seen it at all, trying to make comics about it.
That's funny. Well, I mean, because I guess at that time, you either watched it when it was on, or you didn't see anything about it. At that time, back in the day. Okay, anyway.
That's true. You couldn't exactly YouTube it.
That's correct.
If you got the gig.
Or stream it. All right, so I guess on to Image Comics from there?
To Image.
Sure. Do you have anything that... Now, since are you still, skimming your new books you get and everything goes in a pile for the next 15 years at this point?
Sometimes yes, sometimes no.
Okay.
I get laxer and laxer about that as time passes.
Okay.
Yeah, more and more I just kind of say, okay, here it is. I catalog it. I keep track of all the things that I have. I've got a running database, but I don't always crack the books to find out what's going on inside unless it's something that seems really interesting to me.
Okay. Just because, I mean, there's just so many things that I'm not getting right now. It's hard for me to discuss. But for Image, though, this month there are some cool things. They do have the 25-cent issues for several of their books for the anniversary of Image Comics. Like Invincible 133, Walking Dead 163. They're 25 cents. Outcast 25. So go through the Image section. There are a couple of 25-cent issues. Of course, you mentioned on page 203, Sex Criminals, but on page 202 across from it, Revival 47, the last issue of the series.
Oh, wow.
Tim Seeley, Mike Norton, Jenny Frison covers. Now, I have been getting every single issue of this every month because I'm supporting Norton. Mm-hmm. But I must admit, this is one of those things I have just not been keeping up on. I think I last read somewhere maybe up to issue 8 or 9, but it's like, things happen and I wanted to support Norton and keep buying the issues. So now I feel as though I need to have a binge. Because I've been known to do that's a binge comics together to get ready for the finale here. And I wish I could find it online, but I believe Mike has said there was some sort of, incentive where you can be put into the final issue for readers. So I'm trying to find that right now, but...
Guy gets himself drawn into Jamal Eigel's Molly Danger, and suddenly he wants to be everywhere. La-dee-da.
So I'm sorry, I'm trying to find it, but I can't find that right now. But I saw Mike posted something like that on why don't I go to the old Facebook and look up that Mr. Mike Norton and see what he's got going on there, because I believe that's where I saw them. But anyway, Revival is ending with issue 47, and I was quite surprised by that because I haven't been keeping up on it. But
so if you're going to do this binge, are you going to try and dig up all of the preceding 47 issues or 46 issues and read them, or are you just going to buy trades and read them?
No. I have the issues. I just have to,
locate them.
Locate them. I have a general idea of where they are. They're in probably a 20 to 25 foot square area, but it's like, there's several thousand comics to go through. But that's not why you called. Anyway, was there anything else that caught your eye with Image? I mean, so many ongoing books and that are going for quite some time.
Yes, but Image. I'm not sure Image more than Marvel doesn't deserve the title House of Ideas these days.
Okay.
So many interesting things that they are doing across so many genres. Let's see, page 190 and 191, to celebrate Black History Month, Image is releasing something called Black History in Its Own Words in hardcover, a product of one Ronald Wimberly, and it's basically an illustrated collection of quotations from famous African Americans, like a headshot of each one with a quotation sort of drawn into the panel. So that's a cool project. Among those 25-cent books that you mentioned,
Yes.
Brian, I want to draw special attention to Invincible number 133. And again, I'm sure Ian would want me to do that. But it's the beginning of a 12-part arc called The End of All Things, and Invincible at the end of that 12-part arc will go the way of Revival, and it will no longer be published. So
Yeah,
for 25 cents, you can get in on the ground floor for the beginning of the end.
I did see about that as well, yes.
So that's a big deal for Invincible fans, and that series will then become finite, and then maybe we can finally go back and read it again, or try, take another shot at reading it as a Book of the Month follow-up, just to see if maybe we can be more impressed than we were by the first volume and see why the series has lasted as long as it has.
I did go a little further than that, and I have a couple of the books in collected edition. I have read maybe the first 30 or so issues, and it was quite enjoyable. But again, just one of those things, I know you hear Chris say it all the time, there's not enough time to see all you want to see.
Tell me about it. See, pages 196 and 197, our friend Gabe Hardman is writing and drawing a horror one-shot called The Belfry. It looks like he's channeling his inner Sienkiewicz here, based on the sample art. It's probably going to involve bats or bat-like creatures in some way.
I would certainly think so.
Yeah, and so that gets us through the front part of the book where all the new stuff is being introduced. That's probably all I'm going to have to say about Image from the looks of it.
Okay. So now on to Marvel next.
Yep, I guess so.
All right. Now you wanted to mention the off the rack choice from Marvel while we get started here.
Well, that's a little. It's actually to the back of the Marvel catalog, the one that we ultimately chose. But yeah, at the beginning of the Marvel catalog are a few things we also considered as off the rack picks. Marvel is launching a few new, and as usual, they're. Okay, so one of them is a miniseries, the other two are ongoings, but they're based on characters from Daredevil's world, probably Netflix series inspired. But yeah, it's a Kingpin series, and in which the Kingpin returns to New York and tries to get back into legitimate business, even hires himself a young PR person to try and get himself back into the city's good graces. Elektra goes to Vegas and faces off against Arcade at the beginning of her series. And then there's a 5-issue Bullseye miniseries written by Ed Brisson and art by Guillermo Sana. Bullseye goes down to South America and gets into trouble down there. So there you go. 3 series involving characters from Daredevil's world by lesser-known creative teams.
And all 3 of those titles are half off at DCBS.
Good to know. And the Monsters Unleashed crossover event continues to rampage across the Marvel Universe in the dead of winter in February.
Does anybody, I guess this is more of a question for anybody else out there, does anybody get confused by all these dots, like the dot, like .mu or, dot 1.1, 1.5 from Marvel that's been doing recently? It
shouldn't confuse a math major.
Well, no, but it means like as far as cataloging goes, it's like, well, here's issue 1.45. What?
Clearly it goes between number 1 and number 2 in that series.
Even
though MU isn't a number technically,
right? But it's just, I don't know. It just sort of rubs me the wrong way. But that's my problem.
Yeah, it's and I'm just plain not buying any of those .mu things.
Yeah, nor am I. Yeah,
the Avengers series, though. I mean, with Mark Waid and Barry Kitson.
Yeah.
You're buying those decimal issues, aren't you?
Actually, no, I'm not.
You should be, because it's very much like what they did with JLA Year One, except they're doing it with the Avengers, Cap's Kooky Quartet.
Kooky Quartet. Yeah, I know. It's Waid and Kitson, and you really can't go wrong with that combination. You mentioned JLA Year One. I love their work on like the Planet Krypton one shot from way back when.
Oh yes.
But yeah,
my favorite single issue comics of all time too.
Yes, and I own one of the pages from that, Batman and Captain Kane.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, I'm just buying so little Marvel stuff because I'm feeling like overwhelmed with so many things. I am getting the Jessica Jones, and I heard you talk about issue 1. I've yet to read that because I wanted to go back and read all of Alias because I read the first 5 issues of Alias, and I actually have the rest of the issues and. I actually know where those are, and again, it's just a matter of just time and time. Because binging seems to be the thing nowadays. So
It's a precious commodity for people in our respective lines of work at Christmas time.
Yeah. I actually saw something in the sky today that was bright and orange, and I was wondering, what is that thing in the sky that is illuminating the
It's a massive incandescent gas.
Yeah, I don't know what the heck.
I
I had to put on some dark glasses because it was so bright. I don't know what that thing in the sky was. I haven't seen it in quite some time.
Were you afraid it was World War III?
I was quite afraid it was World War III. But other than, I'm getting the Mighty Thor. I don't see actually a Silver Surfer issue solicited this month. And
It's behind schedule by quite a bit.
Okay, I'm getting the Unworthy Thor, but there's very little Marvel that I'm getting. I know there's some good things out there, but it just seems to be so much. And, I can't keep up with all this stuff here. So I'm sorry, listeners, if I'm not helping out with your Marvel choices, but... what do you do since you're not necessarily reading all this stuff right now?
Well, your feelings of overwhelm are certainly understandable. Marvel's MO has always been to flood the market with product, and they continue along in that vein even now. But things that I'm getting. I'm getting Unworthy Thor also. So that's that 5-issue miniseries.
Yes.
Let's see, the Clone Conspiracy miniseries. I've been buying that. None of the tie-ins, just like the 5-issue main thing, just for nostalgia's sake, and also because it's Dan Slott is doing something interesting with the revived Jackal. He's styling himself as the new modern god of the undead. That's why he wears the Anubis mask.
Okay.
And he's just resurrecting a bunch of Spider-Man villains. And some characters we haven't seen in a while. Let's see. New Wasp series happening there. Slapstick miniseries. Not buying either of those. Page 63. Thunderbolts number 10. This is a 40-page issue. It's Zemo is back in the picture, and he's bringing back the Masters of Evil, and of course the Thunderbolts diverged evolutionarily from the Masters of Evil back in 1996. And there's even a backup story written by Kurt Busiek with art by Mark Bagley, the original Thunderbolts Team Supreme, contributing to Thunderbolts number 10.
There you go.
So I've actually been buying that series anyway, because Thunderbolts, it's not quite... with me, it's not quite to me what the Justice League is to Shane, whereas I would buy it even if it were crap on a cracker, as Shane likes to say. I do have some discrimination there. I refused to buy the Fight Club take on it because I was just taking the title and slapping onto a completely unrelated premise, which I thought was, not cricket at all.
Okay.
I also didn't approve of the Peter Milligan and Mike Allred X-Force continuing from the old series' number and title because it wasn't at all the same concept. When they changed it to Ecstatics, I was much more in favor of that.
Okay.
But anyway, this is definitely much more the original formula Thunderbolts. I've been buying every issue of this Jim Zub written series, and I'm certainly going to buy number 10 because it's got the original creative team back in the saddle again. Page 71, Unbeatable Squirrel Girl, number 17. Great Superman number 1 homage cover there. She's the flying squirrel now.
Oh, you don't say.
Nothing can stop her now. Let's see, other stuff.
Hokey smokes.
And now, here's for something we hope you'll really like.
There you go. Is June Foray still around?
She is still alive, yes.
Wow.
She is in her 90s, but she is alive. Okay, so paging through a bunch of stuff here. Then we get into the Star Wars books. And, that is where we find our Marvel off-the-rack pick.
There we go, okay.
And that's on page 98 and 99. It's the first issue of a 5-issue miniseries starring Darth Maul. All right, Cullen Bunn is writing it, and Luke Ross is doing the art, covered by Rod Reis. And so it's Marvel dipping into something having to do with the prequel timeline, which they haven't done that much of so far, but it's probably the biggest fan-favorite character to come out of that series of films. And he's getting something akin to an origin treatment, I believe. Darth Maul's time as apprentice to Darth Sidious has long been cloaked in shadows, but at last we will reveal his tale of revenge. So, if not his origin, at least something of his early days. And I don't think since Dark Horse, around the time these movies were being released, I seem to recall there was a Ron Mars-written Darth Maul miniseries in those days.
Okay.
But now we're getting something for the second Marvel age of Star Wars comics, and Cullen Bunn is writing it, and we will discuss it on Comic Geek Speak as an off-the-rack pick.
Very good.
Then moving on into some trade collections. Let's see. Of course, there's some Deadpool things. When aren't there some Deadpool things? Boy, are there ever Deadpool things. Let's see. A 5th volume of Unbeatable Squirrel Girl. That's on page 116. Power Man and Iron Fist Volume 2. This is the current series as written by David F. Walker, art by Sanford Green. The Avengers, The Initiative, the complete collection, Volume 1. So this is a collection of the super team book literally called Avengers, The Initiative that spun out of the Civil War miniseries. Written by Dan Slott and Christos N. Gage. It was about a training program for up-and-coming superheroes in the wake of the Registration Act, as the U.S. government tried to establish an official government-sanctioned superhero team for each of the 50 states. And so this was all taking place at Camp Hammond, a facility named after Jim Hammond, the original Human Torch. And it was some really interesting, odd Marvel Universe material because it involved some strange characters. Slapstick was kind of a prominent figure in this series. The Bengal from the Daredevil comics of the 80s, and also a few original characters that were thrown into the mix. So it was... it was a good series. I did not miss a single issue of it. And now it's getting collected in trade. So I definitely recommend Avengers The Initiative. That's on page 120. We've got a trade of some early Cloak and Dagger stuff from the 80s on page 122, all of it written by one of Chris's favorite creators, Bill Mantlo. And across from that on page 123, some Iron Fist stuff collected. Iron Fist, The Book of Changes trade paperback, again in anticipation of the upcoming Netflix series with that character. X Factor Epic Collection. That's on page 128, and that's a collection of the early appearances of X Factor and also a couple of cameos from having to do with the resurrection of Jean Grey. So you've got the Avengers number 263 and Fantastic Four number 286, and then straight into the first 9 issues of X Factor plus the first annual and some other goodies as well. So the beginnings of the X Factor team seen there, and the same thing happening on page 129 with X-Force, and on page 130 with Excalibur, my favorite mutant team. Some Claremont and Alan Davis stories. Fantastic stuff, some of my favorite comics ever. And then the New Mutants on page 131. These epic collections are really getting excited over here. And that takes us to the end of Marvel Trades.
All right. So now we go to the rest of the book. But before we get to that, we're going to start out talking to Mr. Dave Dwonch from Action Lab about many things, not least of which is his new ongoing book, Infinite 7. So here's Dave. All right, now joining us on the line is Mr. Dave Dwonch. Welcome back to the show, Dave. How are you doing?
It has been far too long, Pants. Far too long. How are you?
I'm fine. What do we mean far too long? We've been on the show that we've seen you. We both saw you in New York.
In New York, yeah.
Yeah, you celebrated my honeymoon with me.
Yes.
That was amazing.
Congratulated you on the recent nuptials.
Yes. How's that going for you? Still married?
Still married. Still married. Doing well.
Well,
she's getting used to the comic book thing, but it's been great.
Well, for those of you who don't know, Dave Dwonch has been, good gosh, he's been a friend of ours for a long time. I have you on an episode of ours way back in July of 2006 as a conversation. We've known you at least 10 and a half years, if not longer.
That's
and
probably our trip to San Diego then.
Yes, and as a bonus, you are, by my visual looking here, the only person to have not one, but 2 sketches hanging in our studio.
Wow, that is... Now you're dating me. See, I mean...
Well, don't talk about our dating. It's a whole different story there, Dave.
Yeah, we've known each other for quite some time. We've known each other since before I started Action Lab with the guys.
Yes.
We blame you guys for Action Lab more than anything.
We shoulder that.
Yeah, without Super Show, that would have never happened.
Well, refresh the listeners about Action Lab and your position and title at Action Lab.
I'm the president of marketing and development for Action Lab. So I'm the guy that I started out as creative director for the company years and years ago, and they moved me into the top spot. And then I started working in development, trying to get some of these projects made into movies and TV shows and stuff like that. So yeah, it's shifted a little bit, but I'm still the guy that says yay or nay to books, and I get to find all the cool stuff to print. So it's a lot of fun.
Excellent. Now, when we first knew you, I guess you were doing mostly like independent stuff, and
I believe Special Ed was the book of the day when we first
Special
met.
Ed. That's correct. Do you?
Hey, you guys are crazy. You guys are taking me back to a dark place.
Yeah, special education. And actually, I am the proud owner of, again, not one, but 2 original covers to that series.
Oh, was
Wow.
one in the,
Yeah, you know, it's so funny. I started out as like a kind of a writer-artist doing comedy stuff. I never really dabbled much past that. And then I just kind of realized that I was a storyteller more than I was so I was just as comfortable like behind the keyboard as I was behind the drawing board. So I just started writing more and moved. I don't want to say onwards, upwards, but yeah, I mean that book. That was like the first thing I did back in 2004 is when I started that book. Man, it's crazy. But yeah. That's a great book. That's what got me noticed with Super Real Graphics, who then Jason, who was running that company, merged with Action Lab to form Danger Zone, and so on and so forth. It's just it's a weird small world that we live in, you know.
Yeah. Mert, actually, the covers I own are number 1, which is an homage to all the Giant Size X-Men number 1.
Okay.
And then cover 2, which is an homage to Adventure 247, the First Legion. So I got those. Those are the covers that I have.
We will not
You know,
be more superhero.
You brought me back to that, and it's so funny because for Infinite 7, the new book I'm doing, it's totally a riff on 80s action movies, and every issue has an action movie poster variant. And now I'm like, wow, I really haven't changed that much in 12 years, have I? I'm still doing the same crap.
The important thing is you're doing it well, Dave.
I appreciate it. Yeah, we're 2017 is going to be a huge year for Action Lab. Like 2016 was the best so far, but the amount of books that we have coming out in 2017 and the quality of those books are really amazing. I can't wait to like drop that on the world. It's going to be amazing.
Yes, Mr. Marketing Man there. And you mentioned Infinite 7. Now, how's that for a nice little segue? Because in this current issue of previews from the Action Lab Danger Zone line,
Danger Zone.
Yes.
we have Infinite 7 number 1, written by some hack named Dave Dwonch.
Yes. Yeah. I love like 80s action movies. It's kind of just what I grew up on, and there was a rumor going around about James Bond a while back that basically all of the James Bonds exist in a shared universe. You know, like James Bond himself is a title that's passed down from agent to agent. And I just thought, oh, that's such a cool idea and a cool concept that I know they're never going to do anything with. And you know me, Pants, I'm a huge DC fan too, so I'm a fan of like legacy stuff, right? Mm-hmm. You know, like when the mantle of the Bat's passed down to Dick Grayson just for a little bit, and you're like, man, that's like to me that was the best thing about Batman back in the day. And now I feel like you can't get away, with that. You can't kill Spider-Man for too long, So I kind of wanted to do something that merged all of those things that I loved about comic books and like put it in an action espionage setting. So it was one of those things where basically there's an assassins guild, and the only way to join the guild itself is to kill one of the members to become one of the members, to kind of prove that you're that much of a badass, right? So it's got a little bit of like Piers Anthony on a pale horse in there. It's got the James Bond thing going on. Agent 7 has never been killed. It's a crotchety old kind of Sean Connery character. Because in my mind, even though I love the concept that all the James Bonds are in the same universe, my James Bond was always Sean Connery, so he's going to stay that way in the book. It's a lot of fun. It's really like over the top. Like if you like Danger Girl and just James Bond and X-Men stuff. I mean, I've never really written a team book before, so this was it presents its own challenges. You have to have action beats. At least once per issue, there's got to be some kind of big thing that it's almost like the window dressing needs to be there in every issue. So it's been fun to try and get those big action moments in there and still try to actually have a story, But I really like what I'm doing with it. There's, like I said, it's Infinite Seven. There are 7 members of the Assassin's Guild, and each one is kind of an archetype. So you'll notice a Bruce Lee,
yes,
kind of a commando. There's a commando, Arnie Commando, a Snake Plissken, and it's cool because I get to like mine from all of these old movies and. It's not like I would never say that I'm like stealing the characters, but I'm heavily influenced by these old movies, and I get to merge them all together in something kind of like League of Extraordinary Gentlemen in a way.
Yeah. Okay, I can see that. Now, talk about the artists on the book.
Oh, Arturo Mesa. I got lucky. One of the perks. The guy at Action Lab that gets to see everything is I get to see these phenomenal artists come through. And he sent me a Batgirl submission. He was just kind of shopping around, and I fell in love with his work. He only pencils. Those are pencils in the book. I know I sent you guys a PDF to look at.
Yes.
It's pencil work. And then my colorist, Geraldo Filho, he colors right over his pencils. And you could not tell. They're such a good team. That the finished product just looks like finished, beautiful artwork.
I did not know that was not inked. You just mentioned that. I'm looking at it right now. I did not know that.
And now that you do, you can look back at it, and some of like the action scenes, you'll see like a grit to it, and you're like, oh man, it's gritty because it's pencil, and you don't even think about it until you know it's pencil. But I'm super stoked, and those guys are nuts. Like. I'll write a scene where, they're in a kind of a Batcave trophy room, and, I'm writing the scene with dialogue and scene direction, and then I go back and I look at the scene, and they've crammed it with so much cool pop culture reference that whoever's reading the book, if you're a fan of, like, 80s, 90s, action flicks, you're going to find a ton of stuff in there that's just going to keep your eyes moving. It's awesome.
Now, let me go ahead and actually read the actual solicit here that's enlisted in previews here, if you don't mind, sir.
Oh, for sure.
Infinite 7 #1, new ongoing series. For centuries, a secret world government has employed the Infinite 7, the world's greatest assassins, to do their dirty work. The only way to become one of their members is to prove your worth by killing one of their members. But what happens when Anthony Zane, a teenage boy from the suburbs, does just that? Now, this last sentence, I don't know what writes this. This is pretty heady stuff here. He goes, action hero archetypes are reimagined in what is sure to be the blockbuster series of the year. Boy, you're not taking any chances, are you?
Hey, I wrote that.
You did?
I can write some catchy stuff. I'm the director of marketing. And that's the thing. And it's crazy that I'm launching it. I actually wanted to launch it in July. I wanted it to be like a blockbuster type movie experience for people. And we've been working really quietly on this book. Like we're already on issue 5, and I'm writing issues 6 and 7 right now. We're like way ahead. And that's just by design. I wanted to do a monthly ongoing series, which I've never done before. I've always been the short-sighted, 4-issue and done kind of guy. But the story is so big. I mean, for centuries there has been this group, so I get to mine so much. There's a Denzel Washington Training Day character, and his code name is Washington. But George Washington was a member of the Infinite Seven after he was president. I have all of this crazy, weird alternate history stuff going on for Infinite Seven that people are going to be, really, really stoked on. It's going to be cool. But yeah, I actually believe it. I think people are going to be blown over by it. Like I don't think there's anything on the market quite like it. I mean, it's fun, it's dark, it's a thrill ride, It's and it's got characters that you think but as the series is going to go on, we'll prove you wrong every step of the way. It's issue 4 is like a huge shocker and huge reveals, and I cannot wait.
Well, that's now.
Well, you're combining two of my favorite topics, George Washington and 80s action films. Saw him in all the way, let me tell you.
I'm more of a Martha Washington guy myself, but
Well, I see that through DCBS, when you pre-order the first issue, it is half off cover price, only $1.99, and you would get a free signed and numbered print.
yes, yeah. So I'm doing these old school lobby cards. They look like, you remember when you used to go to the theater back in the 70s?
Of course.
And you get those lobby cards.
Uh-huh.
It looks like an old school lobby card with the Infinite Seven on it. It's got the Action Lab logos. I'm going to sign and number them, and it's only through DCBS that you. Oh yeah, I'm super excited. Cameron and we go way back to the special ed days too. So I see him maybe once a year at the retailer summits and stuff, and it's always a good time. But yeah, I contacted him because I wanted something unique for them. I wanted something that people could, hang on their wall or when they read the book, have something to take home like a lobby card. So I thought it was a cool thing.
And I'm still going through my art gallery here. I have back a 2008 Gnome sketch card you got when I pre-ordered my issue through DCBS. So yeah, you guys do go way back.
Yeah, wow. You and I, man. I feel like I got to buy you a dinner. Jesus Christ.
Okay. What kind are you going to next? Where are you going to be?
Where am I going to be? I'm going to be in Emerald City for sure. After that, I'm going to go visit Peter's people in Puerto Rico. I'm going to be at San Diego for sure.
Okay.
Geez, it's rough. I have a con a month, but it really is. I'm terrible. I could just open my own website and figure out where I'm going. If I didn't post it on my own website, I swear I would not remember where I'm headed.
How about C2E2, maybe? C2E2, huh? Please, huh?
You know what? I have yet to go to C2E2, but my company, Action Lab, is always there, and they're always threatening to fly me out to that one, so most likely yes. So yeah, February is Long Beach, March is Emerald City, March is Oak City in North Carolina. I'm in Texas in May for a horror convention, which is going to be awesome. I know you thought I said horror convention, but I'm not that type of guy anymore.
That would be awesome.
I'm married. And then San Diego, San Francisco, and most likely New York. So yeah, that's my con schedule. I'm trying my best to not overcommit because I know last minute Action Lab stuff kind of comes first, so I need to be wide open for that. So I don't really go to shows as myself anymore. I go as the company.
Okay.
But that's always fun. It's always fun to meet the fans of all of the stuff that we do. We have a huge all ages fan base. And this book was right on the cusp of being an Action Lab proper book, but I like my 4-letter words and
Yes.
and my blood and guts and stuff. So I wanted to put this one firmly in the fan base. I think is going to appreciate the old school action stuff.
Yes, it is a mature reader's book.
Yeah. It's not too mature. It's not Zombie Tramp, but it is definitely not Princeless. So
Right.
Yeah.
Excellent. Well,
It's
now,
a danger zone, man.
is there anything else as the marketing man you want to pimp for the Action Lab line of comics?
Sure. Well, in the catalog this month is Peach and the Isle of Monsters by Franco and Agnes. That book's going to be awesome. It's a one shot. We're hoping to launch a series of books out of it, but it's a self-contained story from Eisner winner Franco, who's a sweetheart of a man.
Yes, he is.
We're working with Peter David on a book called Artful, which is awesome. I mean, really, really cool. Brian, our CEO, is friends with Peter. They became friends at a con, and we've been itching to work with Peter. So we're working on Artful with him. Cougar and Cubs in there, which is also another awesome mature reader book. And Voracious is awesome. I don't know if you guys have read Voracious, but it's crazy. If you haven't, I'll send him to you. It's the best book. Every retailer that I talk to is like, why isn't this an Image book? And I was like, well, fuck you, man, because we're awesome, okay? But yeah, Voracious is a good. It's a story about a chef who failed in New York and went back to his hometown and discovers that his uncle a time machine. So he goes back in time to kill the tastiest of all meats. He kills dinosaurs and then serves them up in his diner, and he becomes this overnight celebrity. Not because anyone knows what the meat is, but just because it tastes so good. And then in Volume 2, which is coming out, I believe the first issue just came out last week, we find out that he's not been traveling back in time. He's been traveling to a parallel, like the past of a parallel universe. So now you've got dinosaurs in the future coming back out why, or across the multiverse to figure out why their ancestors are dying. So it's a lot of fun. It's crazy good.
That is a concept.
High marks, man. And then of course Tomboy, which is a book that is wrapping up in the next 2 months. Well, not the next 2 months, but February and March when these books come out. Tour de force stuff. It's amazing. I cannot. I can't believe I get to have my eyes on these books like well before they come out. And if I have any hand in helping them come out, man, I'm grateful to be there to do it.
That is awesome, Dave.
Mm-hmm. Yes, it is.
Oh man, yeah, we're excited. We're like I said. Wait for next month when you see American Karate. It's gonna knock you on your asses. It's so good.
Awesome. Well, now, where can people find out more about Infinite Seven as well as Action Lab, and even Mr. Dave Dwonch?
Oh, you could just at Dave Dwonch me over on Twitter and find out all of the things I'm eating for dinner and also all of the things I'm drinking for breakfast. I don't even know if that's. Yeah, that's a thing. And so yeah, there. You can find me on Facebook, or you could just go to actionlabcomics.com. My website's outofmymind.co, which is just kind of like my little personal place to call home. But yeah, Twitter's the most amusing place for you to track me down.
Excellent. Well, Dave, I just want to thank you again for all you've done for us over the years. Much success to you. And hope to get to San Diego. I want that free meal. Damn it!
Oh yeah, for sure. So yeah, we'll go to the Kilt.
No, yes,
Oh, you said the
yes.
Good time.
Oh, there you go. You got me there now.
Ding, ding, ding,
So so where are you guys going to be next? Where can I book a room with Action Lab so I can hang out with you guys?
Well, the next place I'm going to be. Actually, I'm going to be in Los Angeles in February for Gallifrey Women Doctor Who convention.
Oh, nice.
But then I'm going to C2E2 in April.
I may be going along to that.
Okay. Probably Heroes Con in June.
Most
I'm
likely.
guessing.
Both of us are road tripping to that again.
Yes. Wild Pig for Free Comic Book Day in May.
All right.
Indeed.
And, anything else that pops up in the area. But it's tough because you're based out on the West Coast. It's tough to get out there for all of us.
Well, yeah, I'll most likely go to Heroes Con. I haven't put it on my schedule just quite yet.
Well,
but,
do it now.
It's
now.
in the works. Because I usually go to North Carolina or NC Comic Con, but this next year we're planning a trip to France, so that's going to take the spot of NC Comic Con, so I can actually do Heroes Con. So you'll probably see me there.
Very good.
Yeah, it'll be good. It'll be good times. Hopefully by then, I'll have some issues under my belt, and you guys can read some of the crazy reveals that are going to come in this book. It's going to be really cool.
Excellent. Well, Dave, again, thank you for joining us, and again, happy nuptials, I guess.
I do love a good nup. Oh, well, it's always a pleasure, guys. And yeah, anytime you need anything, you just call me and I'll hook you up with the Action Lab swag bags.
Awesome.
Fantastic.
Well, Dave,
Awesome.
thank you very much. And Merry Christmas and Happy New Year to you.
Happy New Year.
Same to you.
Yes.
Thank you, Dave.
Merry Christmas, guys. I'll talk to you soon.
All right.
Take care.
Right.
Later.
All right, so I guess we'll just jump back into the rest of the book then.
Okay. All right, so right after the Action Lab section, in Aftershock, page 254, the Rough Rider series, of which I know
Yes.
you're a fan too.
Yep, I already ordered this ongoing series, the new series of Rough Riders Book 2. I've gotten the whole first series. I enjoyed it very much. Of course, Pat Olaf, I very much enjoy his artwork. But the subject matter was kind of interesting. Teddy Roosevelt getting together a team, if you will, of sort of well-known historical figures, and going around, having an adventure, and it was really, really good. And I'm looking forward to the second book. Same creative team: Adam Glass writing and Pat Olaf on the art. And on the next page of the continuing, I'm still getting the Animosity series. Still digging that very much, where the pets become sentient. Very intriguing storyline. Okay, what else we got going on here?
Okay.
Chris mentioned the Three Stooges trade paperback.
On page 263, there's a new Pink Panther one-shot. They don't seem to be doing regular series for any of these things at American Mythology, though. They're just doing like random one-shots as opposed to sequential numbering. So we have a Pink Panther Super Pink special. So, superhero parody with the Pink Panther.
And from Archie Comics on page 272, they're having an ongoing. They had it last month. I think they had the solicit for a one-shot based on the Riverdale TV show that's coming out. This is actually going to be now an ongoing series based on the Riverdale TV show, which I did not see, but they showed the pilot at Comic-Con, and I guess it comes on the CW in January, so it's been in the can for quite some time. I'm curious to see that. I've heard different things about that. I will give it a shot once it gets on the air. But now they have an ongoing series based on what's going on that TV series.
I do occasionally like to check in with the Simpsons comics. Looks like
Bongo still.
Right. Page 288, Simpsons comics number 237 is a Bartman story. So I will buy that. Then we get to Boom. Chris is already enthused over Planet of the Apes Green Lantern. Definitely in for that.
Well, again, one of the other variant covers there with the homage to the end of the movie with the Lantern Corps standing in for the Statue of Liberty. I like that. Very good stuff. Of course, action figure variant.
And another incentive cover, Felipe Masafera doing a very convincing Alex Ross impression.
Yes.
Then the Dark Crystal thing, a 12-issue maxi series set some years after the original movie, where apparently a new alien race on the planet Thra, from the Firelings, who live at the core of the planet Thra, one of them sneaks up to the surface to steal a shard of the Dark Crystal, thus recreating the Skeksis and the Mystics, and the two Gelflings who have been ruling the planet for the last several years have to try and maintain order. That does sound interesting, but I will probably trade weight that.
I'll take your word for it, because, again, I have never seen the Dark Crystal.
Oh, tisk, tisk, tisk.
Yes, I know, tisk, tisk, tisk.
Have you seen Labyrinth?
I have not seen Labyrinth.
Well, see the Dark Crystal first, because I really do think it's the better of the two films.
Okay. But you see Jennifer Connelly in the Labyrinth, though, don't you?
You do.
Ooh, but how young is she in that, though?
Legal.
Oh, okay.
I'm
That's all I needed to know.
Pretty darn sure.
Sorry.
She's playing younger than she was.
Okay.
Yeah, she was supposed to be a teenager, but I'm pretty sure she was older than that.
Okay.
Let's see, page 299, still under Boom. We finally get a Steven Universe ongoing series.
Oh, okay.
And I do like Steven
Yes,
Universe.
I know you do, yeah.
It's the story of a young, happy young boy who happens to be a half-breed between a out-of-work rock musician and a member of a race of alien mineral women. And
Okay.
yes, it's a heartwarming show, and it crosses gender boundaries. It's very queer tolerant, we'll put it that way. It's sympathetic to non-heterosexual points of view.
Okay.
And it's unusual. It breaks new ground for a cartoon show, and it's got quite a large crossover audience among older viewers. And Daniel Corsetto is a particular fan, as am I, for that matter. So I'm glad to see that there's an ongoing series of that in comics coming out from Boom. Oh, I nearly forgot to mark the 11th issue of the Over the Garden Wall ongoing series. That's on page 307.
You have to mark your issues?
Yes, I always do.
Okay.
Place my black mark upon it. On page 315, there is a Beatles comic.
Yeah, I saw that from Campfire. Never heard of Campfire before. Oh, my God, that's right. It says here, released to coincide with the 50th anniversary release of Sgt. Pepper's. Holy cow, that's right. It's been almost 50 years next. It will be 50 years next.
Ago today.
It was 50 years ago today. Holy cow, I'm old.
Oh, aren't we all?
Now, from Dynamite. Now, Chris did mention the John Carter The End, but yeah, where's it? Page 327, we have to mention Vampire number 0 is a 25-cent comic. And of course, you can I already ordered my copy for 16 cents to DCBS.
Unreal. And it's written by Paul Cornell, so it doesn't really matter what's between those covers. Anything he writes is definitely worth 16 cents.
Boy, I'm sure that's right. You can't take higher praise than that.
Cheap at
But
10 times the price.
But I guess the question is, does this entice readers to continue on with these series? Because, I mean, I'll buy it for like a quarter, but again, you don't get it. By the time you get it, the issue is 1 or 2 already out, so we'll see. I guess the last month was Red Sonja was a 25-cent comic. Mm-hmm. So I ordered that, but haven't got yet. So we'll see how that works out. I mean, if it's good, I'll continue on with it. You know,
Yeah, there's a subject for a future conversation, hopefully with someone a little more knowledgeable about such things than ourselves. But do these drastically reduced price promo comics actually net in more readers than that series would ordinarily have?
yeah. Well, just in the generalist of terms, my observation is most first issues or zero issues like this, you're going to have lots and lots of orders, and of course you're going to slowly lose readership as you go along. But does this entice people to buy the book in the first place? I don't know. We'll have to send a crew to the streets to see how that works.
Seems to be working on us. 'Cause, even with Paul Cornell writing it, I don't care that much about Vampirella. I probably wouldn't be paying $3.99 to read the zero issue, but 16 cents, yes, I will.
Certainly.
All right, there's the second issue of the James Robinson written James Bond Felix Leiter miniseries. Page 337, we've got the trade of the Shaft Imitation of Life miniseries. I know Chris would be urging people to read that. It's just fine contemporary blaxploitation comics, as written by David Walker with art by Dietrich Smith. All right, here's something interesting from First Second.
Okay.
On page 352. It's a graphic novel called Decelerate Blue. And it's all about the hectic pace that so many people's lives here in the 21st century seem to have accelerated to.
Okay.
And I guess it's kind of like what Brian Vaughan did with Private Eye about how the internet age has destroyed the concept of privacy.
Okay.
So this is about what happens when a bunch of future rebels in a future society decide they're going to rebel against this the breakneck pace of contemporary living by just living their lives at a slower pace, and the consequences of their decision to do that. So that's I often feel like I'm being pushed along, and I'm sure you have too, especially at this time of year.
Yes.
Your work schedule and the nature of your work being what it is. Well, if taking a few minutes to slow down and decompress is actually an act of rebellion, then enlist me.
Yes.
Fight the power. Take a coffee break. I see on page 365, Joe Books continues to exploit their relationship with Disney. They're putting out a Toy Story comic. First 2 issues are solicited here, but there's no creative team and no hint of what the content is going to be.
Wow, yeah, how about that?
So, yeah, I'm not sure if this is just going to reprint some of the old stuff that Boom put out back in the days when they had the Disney license, or if it's going to be a completely new series. It's solicited, but we don't really know very much about it at this point.
Yeah, that's very odd. See something like that solicited.
If we knew a little more about it, I probably would pre-order it.
Yeah.
But I think I may just hold off as it is. Well, in passing, let's, as usual, throw a mention to Tomorrow's and their back issue.
Oh, yes.
Magazine. That's issue number 95 coming out in February, and the theme is Creatures of the Night. Such magazines they make. So we got a Moon Knight cover here. So we got Doug Monk and Bill Sienkiewicz in a pro-to-pro interview. Some Bronze Age spookables happening.
Ooh, Eclipso in the Bronze Age.
Yeah, really.
Ooh.
Ghost Rider, Night Nurse, and the Copper Age I, Vampire. Interviews with Mike W. Barr, Bob Budiansky, J.M. DeMatteis, Roger Stern, Dave Simons, Tom Sutton, who I kind of thought was dead. I wonder if it's like an archived interview. So, anyway, it's like Bronze and Copper Age horror sort of thing. And, the Bronze Age Eclipso feature sounds interesting, certainly. Being one of both of our favorite characters. Yeah. I think he was repurposed as a Green Lantern villain for a while there.
That's right. I mean, I think the Dave Gibbons run, I think he was in.
And I'm sure he fought the Metalmen at some point, too.
That's correct. Towards the end of that, yeah. I'm trying to think what issues I have of it because I always bought it. I think I bought all his appearances.
Knowing you probably have most of his Bronze Age appearances, if
I
not
have
all
all
of them.
I have all of his Silver Age appearances as well.
Page 428, speaking of supporting Norton, this is one series that I've gotten every issue of. The Adventures of Archer and Armstrong, number 12, written by our friend Rafer Roberts of Plastic Farm and drawn by our other friend Mike Norton. That series is apparently coming to a close. It's been kind of a fun, wacky ride.
Wow.
Along the way.
Really? Oh, okay. Huh.
Yep, 12 and out.
All right. But I like the little blurb at the end of the bottom of the page here. Rafer Roberts is one of the most effortlessly entertaining writers in comics today. It's a very nice quote.
Mm-hmm. Thus spake graphic policy,
Yes.
whatever graphic policy is. And on page 429, we've got the trade of the Britannia miniseries that Chris and I have liked so much. Written by Peter Milligan, art by Juan Jose Rip. It's a detective story set in the ancient Roman times in what was then the Roman colony of the British Isles. There's demon worship, and there's also forensics. It's interesting combination.
Mm-hmm.
And the artwork is very, very well done. So Chris and I both recommend that. Okay, then I guess getting into the back pages here.
Yeah, did anything catch your eye in the back of the book? The back.
Oh, yes, the back. Couple of things.
Sure.
Let's see. There's somebody wrote a book about the evolution of superhero comics in the United Kingdom. It's called The British Superhero. That's on page 448. That same page, there's a critical study, an appreciation and overview, as the author calls it, of Chris Claremont's 17-year run on Uncanny X-Men, forward by our old friend and academician Jeff Klock.
Yes.
So it's called The Best There Is at What He Does, Examining Chris Claremont's X-Men. And there was another sort of work of pop criticism in here someplace that I'd wanted to call it. Here we go. It was on page 452, Fascist Lizards from Outer Space, Kenneth Johnson's V.
Oh, my goodness.
Written by Dan Kopp. So this is... okay. Okay, this book examines V's cultural impact and considers the future of the franchise. So I guess it's going to look at all the different iterations, including that short-lived ABC revival from a few years ago.
Oh, that's right, yes.
Yep. And I think that's all I've got to say, though, about the stuff in the back.
Yeah, I mean, because there's all kinds of T-shirts and toys and cards and games. I don't really get into that too much, but...
me neither.
All right. Well, you want to remind our listeners of your off-the-rack choices from this book?
Okay, so our DC pick for the month of February is The Wild Storm, number 1, by Warren Ellis. From Marvel, the pick is Darth Maul, number 1 of 5. And the indie pick is from Dark Horse. It's called The Visitor, How and Why He Stayed, number 1 of 5, by Mike Mignola, Chris Roberson, and Paul Grist.
All right. Well, that'll wrap it up for this episode. And once again, this episode was brought to you by Discounts Comic Book Service. Go to dcbservice.com for all your pre-ordering needs.
Hi, I'm Shane. If you'd like to send us an email, the address is comicgeekspeak@gmail.com. If you'd like to leave a voicemail, the number is 267-702-6642. You can like us on Facebook. You can follow us on Twitter. The handle is @comicgeekspeak. We encourage you to stop by thecomicforums.vanillaforums.com, which is sort of our web headquarters where you can leave posts on the eventual talkback thread about this episode, to comment on various remarks that we've made, and sound off about comics that we've mentioned that we're excited about in this issue of previews, and that maybe share what you're excited about from this same issue yourself. We'd like to thank everyone who's donated to the show in the recent or distant past. We really appreciate it, and we can't do the show without you. And as usual...
Sorry, I jumped the gun there, sir. Sorry.
And as usual, we are uniting the world's mightiest heroes, one listener at a time.
Sorry.